Is your safety training old, stale, and hackneyed? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces. Hi, this is Jim Posel from Safety Wars. Before we start the program tonight, I wanted to make sure everybody understood that we're going to be talking about a couple of legal cases here. I'm going to mention some stuff up front. Everyone is innocent till proven guilty. Because there are OSHA citations issued, proposed citations, that does not mean those are the final result. Things get negotiated down, things get vacated, things get litigated. Everyone is innocent till proven guilty. We are working off of available public records, newspaper accounts, OSHA press releases, and things of that nature. We can't make any warranty or guarantee as to what was there, if it's true, not true, what the facts are, or anything else. We're just going off of non-copyrighted OSHA information and some of my own observations and field experience, things of that nature. So, enjoy the show. Look back to hearing from you and seeing you tomorrow.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Warning, the following broadcast contains adult language, adult content, frank safety discussions, and stories that might sound unbelievable. But believe me, every one of those stories is true. We didn't start the safety war, but we are going to fight to win it. For our families, for our communities, for our workplaces, and for our lives. Welcome to Safety Wars for Wednesday, January 18th, 2023. This year is just flying by, isn't it? I'm going to drive people nuts if I keep saying that. Because I know a lot of people out there it's going by very slowly. I actually heard today someone say, I can't wait until 2023 is over. Really? You just got here. Hopefully your year is not going like that. And again, if it is going like that, what are you going to do to change it? Can you change it? Just making sure that we're broadcasting here. As always, we are streaming live on the internet on safetyfm.com. And if we like the broadcast, we're going to upload it to Safety Wars on your favorite podcast network. So tonight, I was not rushed around. We got a little bit of a late start last night, and the whole program was rushed. So we're going to review some of the things that we talked about last night. Number one. And number two, there's some other stuff we're going to do a deep dive in. We're going to start out with fall protection, and the new fall protection standard coming out is ANSI Z359.14, dealing with specifically self-retracting lanyards, but we're going to be changing the name a little bit, right, and changing things up. Then we're going to talk about what we spoke about last week, I believe it was Friday, about the second largest OSHA citation in New Jersey since like 2015 on a roofing company. And I paid a little bit of a visit to the site over the weekend after church, and it was pretty interesting. So we're going to start out right off the bat with the financial stuff, because I actually have a couple of listeners that contact me and say, look, we want to hear about the financial stuff up front. So, yeah, but a lot of people want to hear about the other stuff. Yeah, but we want to hear the financials. Well, it only takes some minutes, so we'll do this, all right? So the stocks retreated today. Dow Jones fell more than 600 points. Stocks fell after a fresh batch of data on producer prices and retail sales offered mixed signs of how the economy is weathering the Federal Reserve's tightening campaign. Dow Jones Industrial finished slightly down, 33,296. S&P 500 was down, 39.28. NASDAQ at almost came down a little bit at 10,957.01. Russell 2000 at 1854.36. U.S. Treasury note 10-year up 3.372%. Bitcoin is at 20,687. It seems to have recovered a little bit from its problems last month and the month before. Crude oil is down slightly today, 78.82. Going to precious metals, we have gold at 1917.60. It's up slightly. Silver at 24.20, holding steady. Platinum fell to 1,055.10, down slightly. In palladium at 1,774, up slightly. Okay, now that's your financial news. Now, hold on for some of the regular safety news. So, what are we here for? Right? We have new listeners. What do we talk about? We talk about safety in the news, sort of like Jay Allen's show in the morning, first hour, and the regular safety show. We had some of our commentary here, but we try to be like that first, right? You're going to hear this stuff tomorrow morning sometimes, or maybe tonight, but we're like at a nice time here at 8 o'clock Eastern time where everybody's going to bed. Maybe they're going to listen to this when they get up in the morning. Know if I get this uploaded tonight. Well, the other thing is this. We're at afternoon drive time on the West Coast of the United States. So it's 5:05 there. It's 8:05 here. And we talk about safety in the news. We usually pick a topic and everything else. So we're going to go right to it. I'm going to start off right off the bat here. And we'll talk about those other two topics in a minute. But we're at 9 a.m. tomorrow. I'm waiting for possible charges are supposed to be, this is for local charges, right, in New Mexico on the fatal shooting on set of Alec Baldwin's Rust, right? So it's going to be released to the media at 9 a.m. local time on Thursday. That's tomorrow, January 19th. So a decision on whether any charges will be filed in the 2021 fatal shooting on the New Mexico set of Alec Baldwin's film Rust will be revealed on Thursday. Know what? We may do a replay of some of our commentary on Rust because there's more to this than what's here. All right. So I think what they want to do is they have all this litigation that's going to be going on here. Obviously, some of it's been settled already, but I imagine some other stuff is going to be settled also and litigated. But nobody's saying Gluvno, and until probably after tomorrow, if someone's going to be convicted, right? They have the Miranda rights and everything else. And if they're not going to, if they're saying, well, everybody's clear this was truly an accident, then guess what? Then all these other stuff will probably be able to proceed at this point. So that's probably what's going to happen here. So this, let's review this from last week. So this is a press release from Region 2 OSHA. U.S. Department of Labor finds contractor continues to expose workers to potentially deadly falls, and this time in Upper Saddle River work site. So let's click on this, right? Less than 4 months after citing a Trenton roofing contractor for exposing unprotected workers to deadly fall hazards, the U.S. Department of Labor's Occupational Safety and Health Administration is once again holding the employer responsible for putting its workers at safety at risk. Now, if you've been listening to the Jay Allen show this morning, the podcast, they had a very... let me get the guy's name. I just thought of it. They had a very good podcast from, hold on, Jay Allen Show. What was the guy's name? Jim Frederick. I want to make sure we had the guy's name right. Jim Frederick. They had a phenomenal talk on. He gave a speech at a recent event at the Safety 2 Practical Application Conference in St. Petersburg, Florida. So Jim Frederick is the Deputy Assistant Secretary of OSHA. And what his whole thing is that the agency, OSHA, is looking to be more HOP-related, human organization performance-related, not blaming the worker as much. He explained a lot. I really recommend you go over to Jay Allen's show and read this. And if there's a transcript or listen to it, phenomenal speech and everything with the emphasis and OSHA's emphasis more on, and this is in the statement here, employers responsible for putting its workers' safety at risk. As part of his local emphasis program on falls in construction, OSHA opened up an inspection of a certain place operated by another place at an Upper Saddle River work site on July 6th. During the inspection, OSHA inspectors observed 4 workers on a roof exposed to a 30-foot fall hazard without fall protection, as well as additional violations at the work site on other days that week. At the time, the employer was employed as a roofing subcontractor on a blank residential construction project. Following the July inspection, the agency issued 12 citations, 9 willful and 3 serious, and a proposed $584,333 in penalties for exposing workers to fall hazards, improperly using ladders, and failing to provide head and eye protection. Now, I'm going to try to not mention the company name here, but because it's really not germane, but there's a lot more that goes into this story than what was in the news and what was even in these reports here, right? Blank has a significant OSHA history, and is fully aware of what OSHA standards require. The latest inspection offers further proof that the operator of blank simply refuses to comply with the law, explained OSHA Area Director Lisa Levy, or maybe Levy. I apologize to you, Miss Levy or Levy, in Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey. We will use our full authority to hold this employer and others who continue to put employees in danger accountable. And it goes on and on and on and on. So I went and I looked up here what exactly the citations were. All right. And here we go. No, I'll read through them because it's pretty typical for a roofing contractor. And I'm going to add this here. All right. The company was on the list for OSHA. And you're going to find that out with some further research I've done here. So the type of violation, citation 1 item 1, serious, $6,381. And this was personal fall arrest systems shall be rigged in such that an employee can neither fall more than 6 feet nor contact any lower level. All right. So lifelines utilized were rigged such that employees can fall 30 feet and could contact lower levels. Okay, my daughter and I did a site visit over the weekend because this is a residential development, townhouses, about 5 miles away from my house. And what we noticed was that these roofs, these are 3-story townhouses for the most part, from what I could see. I don't know which building they were working on, but they were about 30 feet, not even high. All right. Maybe a little bit more. Again, this is an issue here. That's why they got cited. Item number two is 1053, improper use of ladders. I'm not going to bore you with all of them. You could go on the OSHA website and look it up. Item number 3, serious. Walking up a ladder with 3 points of contact. $6,300. And I'm rounding the numbers. Type of violation, willful, serious. No hard hats. $63,812. Next one, willful, serious. Eye or face protection. All right. Safety glasses, face shields. What was that? It's $54,694. Number 3, willful, serious. Not protected, employees not protected by guardrail systems, safety net systems, or personal fall arrest system. $63,812. Number 4, willful, serious. What are we looking for at $63,812 for, blah, 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 blah. Again, not employees not protected from lower levels with guardrails, safety net systems, personal fall arrests. Right? Item number 5, willful, serious. Each employee engaged in residential construction activities 6 feet or more above lower levels not protected again. Safety net systems or fall arrest systems. So it looks like they whacked them for every employee not doing this. All right? Or, right, $63,000. Right? That's how I'm reading it. 1926 501v13. 1926 501v13. Yeah. Next one, willful, serious. Again, same one. 3 employees. Next one, willful, serious. Again, same one. Another $63,000. Next one, 501b13. Again. So, for a grand total of $584,333. Now, you're going to say, wow, some of the media reports that were out there on, they said, well, they had previously visited them in March, and these were related to that, a follow-up, blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? We did what was called an establishment search. Ooh, what is that? Now, let me point out something in this area here with roofing companies and OSHA, because this actually does happen. I was talking to a roofing contractor here, and essentially what happens is, let's say that you're bidding on a job, whether they're residential, commercial, or what have you. What are you going to do if you're a general contractor, building owner, homeowner, something like that? You're probably going to shop around, right? You're going to go and you're going to get bids, put things out for bid. And what's going to happen? There's going to be a winner in a bid and a loser in a bid, right? So what the roofing contractors do here, and I heard it from, I'll say I asked a couple of OSHA guys, and they were a little bit ambiguous. They didn't really want to answer that. I don't even think that they're allowed to answer a question like that, so I can't really blame them. But right, because everything's supposed to be confidential with OSHA, and if you make a report, that's supposed to be confidential. So, they're holding their, no, we can't really talk, that sort of thing. But I was talking to roofing contractors, 2 of them, and they said what happens is, let's say that you're the loser on a bid, right? You're a loser on a bid. You're driving by and you're saying, hey, I placed a bid on such and such a facility. A month later, you see another contractor, your competitor out there. What happens? Well, there's a quick call to 1-800-321-OSHA. This is what I've heard from 2 different roofers. And people get reported. That's what it is. People play dirty up here. You're in Rockland and Bergen County, Bergen County, New Jersey, Rockland County, New York, Westchester, Orange County, New York. A lot of development up here. And this is the kind of stuff people do. They call OSHA on each other, the roofers. They're very nasty. some of them. They get upset. I've heard of other contractors doing this in other industries, but this doesn't surprise me that roofers would do this, and this is what I'm hearing. Now, I did a little bit of a deep dive here. So what happens? You call on each other. That's why a lot of the roofing that gets done, especially on the residential level, only gets done on the weekends. Why? OSHA is not open on the weekends except for fatalities stuff. You call up 1-800-321-OSHA, you're going to get an answering service, and they might get back to you on Monday if it's going to be a imminent threat or, something like that. I'm not saying don't call up OSHA. I'm just saying this is what you're going to get with that. They don't know. If it's an imminent hazard or a fatality, they're going to get back to you immediately, probably. But for reporting on another contractor in unsafe condition, they're probably going to take their time a little bit. That's just the way the system's there. They don't have unlimited resources. As Jim Frederick said, they hired more OSHA citation officers and everything, but they're still at around 2,300 people for all 50 states, and I'm sure the 7 territories have OSHA representation on there also. Guess what? Not a lot of people to go around here. And plus, they're involved in federal whistleblowing stuff for 20 laws that aren't even OSHA related. Pardon me. So not a lot of resources. There are very limited resources. That's why states like New York and many of the other states have their own state OSHAs. And in New York, we have Carlos's law and we have the scaffolding law, right? The 240 laws, right? And everything that really go, someone falls you're going to, and dies. You've got a problem now in New York because you're not only getting hit up with a scaffolding law violation from the person who fell, you're possibly getting criminal liabilities if for a company under Carlos's law, which came into effect on January 1st. So, there's a lot to be lost here. There's, this is game on, guys, right? Up here in New York and in the Northeast, right? With a lot of this stuff. So I went and did a deep dive here, getting back to the story. This contractor allegedly, according to the establishment search, was visited how many times here? Number of times. Right? Between the two companies that were in here, that were visited by OSHA here, they were visited, as I count them, like 9 times, including this time. So 8 other times. So with the one company that was named in here, in its current incarnation, it was visited on by Hasbrook Heights office of OSHA. It was visited on May of last year. All right. It was visited again in May of last year, second time. The violations were a little bit higher. First time, it was $10,000. Second time, it was $118,000. And that was all settled down and everything else. This stuff always gets settled and, always, even if they're willful, there's going to be negotiated, they're going to be litigated and everything else. But if you go back in the records, right, in March, they were visited by OSHA, right? Again, willful violations. And if you go all the way back, assuming that these are the same company, the same entity, or there's linked somehow, first time, $4,000 fine for fall protection and hard hats. Second time, 2021, March, hard hats, right? And, the second one is eye protection and fall protection. Total penalties, right? $11,000. Coming back to another time in 2021 in July for one of these companies. The violations, $18,000. November of 2021, violations settled at we're talking like $8,000. Now we get into March of 2022, $100,000. Now we go to April of 2022. Again, one of the companies involved here, $23,000. Right? Then you get into the big ones in March. You get, this is another one, the May of 2022. Same kind of violations here, $10,000. Then in May, 2 weeks later, then you get the big ones. You get $118,000. These are all big. This would sink any company out there, that small business person. Then you get whacked with $584,033. What's my point on this? With the fall protect, with this, and this is not a criticism of OSHA. OSHA goes right. This is all under 8 of these were all under the same administration, presumably the same OSHA. Before this was in the OSHA of Donald Trump, which was back in 2020. This is what my point is here. These are small penalties by OSHA levied to these companies. All right. These companies that were cited here, all right, small. And it looks like the one company bought another company here. All these small penalties, all of a sudden you get whacked with a large penalty. This is a long track record here. Is what I'm looking at. And I'm not one caveat. I don't have the EIN numbers or anything else here, but they all seem to be the same company here. Let's look that up here again. Hold on 1 second here. Okay, hold on. Yeah, if this is the same company, this is like 8 or 9 times that they're visited this group of companies here. At least they share the same name. All right, but no. What's my point here is that even if they were not the same company here, OSHA had visited this company, right? At least 4 times. With $100,000, here's another one, $10,000. What's my point? This seems like it's just a cost of doing business for these companies, right? So, again, this is what I hear from a lot of people who I try to do business with in the past, which I don't try to do business with now. Well, this is just a cost of doing business. We get an OSHA citation. We get a insurance claim. Who cares? We get a fatality. Well, okay. So their culture is, so what? We'll just get somebody else. We'll change names, set up shop somewhere else. This is, and then they get whacked with something here, 500 and some thousand. Thank God. Nobody got killed here with this. I don't know really what to say. I'm going to take a break here. We're going to talk some more about fall protection.
In the professional safety community, communication and planning are just a few keys to your program's success. The question many practitioners have is, where do I start? Dr. Jay Allen, the creator of the Safety FM platform and host of the Rated R Safety Show, has built a global foundation to help you along the way. Go to safetyfm.com and listen to some of the industry's best and most involved professionals, including Blaine Hoffman with the Safety Pro, Sam Goodman with the Hop Nerd, Sheldon Primus with the Safety Consultant, Jim Pozell with Safety Wars, Emily Elrod with Unapologetically Bold, and many others. As individuals, we can do great things, but as a team, we become amazing. Dial into safetyfm.com today and surround yourself with a powerful force of knowledge and support.
You are listening to Safety Wars. Tomorrow's Safety Today.
OSHA recordables, first aid cases, catastrophic losses. You want answers? So do I. This is Jim Polzel with Safety Wars. Okay, we're back. Just wanted to double check some stuff. The reason why I do not mention names and companies and everything else is that the name of this roofing company, is, they're There's like one in every state with the same name. So we didn't want to defame or say anything against one, thinking that it's all over the place. So that's why we do not mention names. There's just really serious stuff here. And even, so the two companies named here, I don't know. I don't want to see anybody go through this here, and it's totally unnecessary. Now, I mentioned this when I first started covering this situation. We'll be following this through all along. Is this the how much money would have cost this contractor to fix this, to prevent this? You can outfit every person, and apparently it was 3 or 4 people here that were found in violation, right, of the workforce. You could have outfitted every one of these guys for about $600, and I'm assuming that they're men. For $600, for a grand total of $2,400, and I mean, you get the Cadillac of harnesses. You're not getting a compliance harness with this. You're not getting Groovno equipment with this. You're getting good equipment. So for $2,400 versus close to $600,000, doesn't seem to make sense. The cost of doing businesses would have been cheaper just to get them fall protection and give them training. I said, no, with this. That would have been the cheaper way of doing this rather than this. This makes zero logical sense. Because I tell you what, when you start to get in, no, what I say, when I get phone calls, Jimmy, can you help us out? We got OSHA showed up. I said, what's the issue? And they're like, oh, well, we got like $10,000, $20,000 in fine. Okay, yeah, I can, yeah. Okay, we're going to help you out on this, 20, 30. When they start to get into 25, 30, 40, 50, 100, 200,000, 300, well, guess what? We're no longer going to be talking about hiring Jimmy. You're going to have to hire Jimmy and an attorney with that. And I have attorneys I work with to try to negotiate out of this sort of thing. Because I tell you what, they're playing hardball if they're coming out with $584,000 in fines. So that's when, okay, maybe you go to outside counsel with this, and we work with attorneys, and there's a whole bunch of other reasons, and especially if you're working in New York where you have somebody hurt or killed, you're dealing with a criminal defense attorney at that point. Even if you're a competent person in some cases and someone gets hurt on you, you're looking at personal liability here, whether it's criminal or civil. So that's with that. Now, we're going to switch gears here with this. Let's go to I just added here. Where is it? Give me a second. Pardon me, everybody. I had it here and it got erased. Bear with me. Let's talk about the new ANSI standard here for self-retracting lanyards. Now you're going to say, well, Jim, what's the big deal? Self-retracting lanyards, blah, 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 blah. So I'm going to give you the point of view of a trainer. And this is the way we've been training people since roughly 2014 on the Z359.14 standard. All right. With this, right? So, boom, boom, boom. So, okay. So they updated so we have ANSI. What is ANSI? And the ASSV, American Society for Safety Professionals, and ANSI, American National Standards Institute, they have combined standards. And for the fall protection, they have, so what is it? It is a trade group. So OSHA updated the fall protection standard, and they issue letters of interpretation and everything starting in 1998. OSHA takes a long time to issue a standard. So it relies on, it'll issue overall standards, but it relies. So, for example, shipyards, 6 foot or construction 6 foot or higher. You have to be thinking about fall protection. General industry 4 foot, shipyards 5 foot, right? Marine terminals 4 feet, and longshoring 8 feet, scaffolds 10 feet. This sort of thing, right? So they issue overall standards and some stuff, but they're not the leading edge. We're going to talk about them. They're not the leading front tip of the spear type standards. So ANSI, American National Standards Institute, and ASSP, they issue standards. They issue all different types of stuff. They're industry standards. They issue them for foot protection. They issue them for eye protection, ANSI Z87, head protection, all this other stuff with all different standards, latest technologies, and everything else. And are they necessary to comply with? Yes and no. I've had attorneys tell me they'll break, in a fall protection case, if it actually goes to litigation, they break out the ANSI standard. I've had attorneys say, no, just worry about complying with the OSHA standards. So it all depends on who you talk with. But OSHA is going to cite you, unless they specifically call out an ANSI standard or NFPA standard or something like that. They're going to specifically cite you on the OSHA standard, and if they don't have a standard, the general duty clause sort of thing. So, but companies, right, and certain entities, and I just went through this today with all of my clients and all their contracts, was I checked out what are they being called out for fall protection. Do they have to comply with the ANSI standard or just the OSHA standard? And overwhelmingly, the answer was the OSHA standard. Some of them was the ANSI standard, and we're going to be doing a class on the new ANSI Z35914 standard for this. So a couple of things here on the standard. What are the high-level changes that these stuff is addressed, right? So it comes down to this. They're trying to simplify types and classes of self-retracting equipment, SRDs they call them now, self-retracting devices, not SRLs, SRDs, right? So end users can quickly identify a compliant product's capabilities. This is what's going on. Right now, when we teach it under the 2014 standard, what happens is we have 2 types of lanyards. 3 types. You have a rescue one, obviously, right? But you have basically 2 types. You have type Class A and Class B. Class A is personal. Class B is for hanging stuff. You're not going to be converted. It's going to be for, like, you're hanging that on there, like on top of a ladder sort of thing, top of a scaffold, and you're going to be using that to climb things. You may be using it like that. You may have a leading edge one where you can put it down where it's 5 foot below, where it could go on the ground and it's on a leading edge. That's what you have, all different types of things, and it requires thinking. People have to think about it. So you have to go through training. So this is why Jimmy has like 17 pages of sign-in sheets and handouts when I give fall protection training to teach people and show them and test them and show them what they're trained on. And I have the safety person in the field continuously go over this stuff so people know what's there. I have clients only buy what they need, don't buy anything extra, don't buy anything different. Say with one manufacturer. This way, everything's the same, so you get into that Jens Rasmussen skills mode of doing things with the least amount of human error. Right? Makes sense. And this is very difficult. So what they're doing is the stuff that I put in writing and make people sign, which I'm still going to make them sign, is now on the lanyard, on the self-retracting device. Right? Also, it increases factors of safety on multiple components and tests, so the updated testing, things of that doesn't get in the field. Yeah, it's nice to know, but it doesn't in there with things. And standardized labels and markings make a clear what's going on. So, in 2014, we have SLR, SRLR for devices with rescue and retrieval functions, and SRLLE for leading edge capability. So you had 3 classes and 3 types, right? Self-retracting lanyard, self-retracting lanyard retrieval, self-retracting lanyard leading edge. You had 3 of them. And inside those, you had 2 classes, Class A or Class B. And the intent was to organize SRDs in types and everything like that. Confuses the hell out of everybody. All right? So you really got to be into it to understand this. I had a comment on this a couple weeks ago. So now they updated this. I hope it doesn't, because, right? This is going to cause confusion a little bit because you're going to have mixed equipment now. So you have types that are 21 types. SRL, self-retracting lanyard. SRLP for personal devices meant to be installed on the user's full body harness, or SRLR for devices with rescue and retrieval functions. So one is going to be a regular SRL, you hang on something. SRLP, you wear. And SRLR for retrieval. And both classes are going to have Class 1 or Class 2. So what's the difference? Class 1 devices, you're going to be able to wear at or above the dorsal D-ring. Class 2 are going to be above, are going to be good for below 5 foot, right? So tying off on, let's say, at your feet, right? Are suitable for above, at, or up to 5 foot below the dorsal D-ring. It must be leading edge rated, right? Now, I had a big argument with somebody. Well, they wanted to have a big argument with me about 2 years ago. But thank God for YouTube and the video for leading edge lanyards. They had never heard of a leading edge lanyard. They took their fall protection class, and they were the competent person. They took it in 2005, had no clue about 2014 ratings or the one before that, and had no clue about it. So we had a training class, and the guy said, wow, thank you, Jimmy, for letting me know and not arguing with me. Or actually, he said, thank you for pushing back on me and arguing with me, because now I know what the hell I'm going to do now. And guess what? The whole company got, I was able to parlay a full-blown fall protection training class for the whole company. So, so between me and another contractor, so because it was like 300 people. So anyway, this is the sort of thing that we're going to be treated. So let's review. You're going to have SRL for hanging, SRLP for wearing, and SRLR for retrieval. Okay, great. And you're going to have Class 1 or Class 2. That's the major thing. We're going to do a video on this as soon as we can get a hold of some equipment here. So this is all supposed to roll out next month. There's a 6-month extension rolling out in August. So if you want training on this, give us a call, 845-269-5772. We will give you training on this. So, with this. Standardized labeling. We're not going to go into on this the types of classes here. Now you need to there's some practical implications here, right? Standardized labeling requirements. So people could keep track of what the hell's going on with this. They came up with new standardized labeling here, and if you could see it on my video screen that I have in front of me, you'll see, wow, this is going to be easy to talk about. So now they're only going to have to be able to read the lanyard and actually do this. Now this is where it's going to become critical in the field. On all of their stuff, what's the first criteria? If it's not the first, it's up there. On all of the equipment, what's the first thing you got to do? You got to inspect it by a competent person, pre-use inspection. What's the first item on there? Labels. These labels had better be in there, right? Had better be on there. And you have to teach people, like we were talking last week, to actually read labels. That's going to be a behemoth task to get people to. So you're going to have to come up with a system of how to do this, right? So the next thing is this. What do you do in the next 6 months? Well, what do you mean, Jim? I can see in the next 6 months, there's going to be a lot of old 2014 compliant equipment that's going to go up for sale real cheap. What are you going to do when you have a problem, someone gets hurt, and you're dealing with old equipment under the old standard? You might be in a little bit of a jam here, right? Might be in a little bit of a jam. What are you going to do? Are you going to throw out all your old equipment? Some companies are going to end up doing that because they're working on sites that require the new equipment, the most updated ANSI standard. They may throw out all of their old equipment, and now where's that equipment going to go? That might disappear and become out there in the field. Now you got to really worry about repair history. You have to really know what use history. Where's this coming from? Is it old equipment? How old is it? All this stuff goes into it. You may have an issue on that. Second thing is this. You're going to have mixed equipment. Some new equipment, some old equipment. You're going to have that old grizzled veteran that's going to, I've been using this for years. I'm not giving it up. You're going to have that issue. Now you're going to have old equipment. You got to work out all these details. And I'm sure there's going to be some slick salespeople out there who say, throw out all your equipment and buy new. Some companies are actually going out and recertifying the old equipment. Right? Check with your manufacturer. So I would be and if you're going to buy new equipment, be very, very weary on what you buy in the next 6 months or so. You may just say, look, can we hold off on buying equipment and buying the new equipment? Or can we want to buy all the cheap equipment now and then just use it, and as we wear it out, we replace it, and we'll deal with this at a later time? And all this is hitting at a very financially challenging time for a lot of companies. So I see a complete and total freaking mess here if you're going to do that, but it doesn't have to be. You give us a call, we'll help you solve and answer these questions for you, and you got a lot of information just now. So let me check on one thing here for this, because I'm not seeing this in my notes. My understanding is that some of the fall protection distances, Z359-14-20, some of these fall protection distances are going to be updated here. So I have one article here, right, with this. Boom, boom, boom. Here you go. Okay, so the class SRDs described, right, are Class 1 self-retracting devices, which shall be used only on an overhead anchorage and shall be subjected to maximum free fall of 2 feet or less in practical application. So Class 1, okay. Class 2 self-retracting devices are intended for applications where an overhead hazards may not be available or feasible, and which may in practical application be subjected to a free fall of no more than 6 feet over an edge, right? Blah, blah, blah. So it looks like the fall protection distances may not change, but more will follow on that when we get the standard here. We review it. We're going to have some further communication. So some of the information I have on the standard says that, hey, fall protection distances may change. Some of them may not. Something that we need to consider here with this. Yeah, here it is. For Class 1 or Class 2, the arrest distance 42 inches. And I'm getting this from Fall Tech .com. Right? So, the fall protection distances are going to change for this, apparently. So, again, don't do anything until you take a full-blown class on the new standard, number one. Review the standard, number two. And number three, get with your manufacturer and see what they say, where you're buying this stuff from. And you may not want to go with your regular salesperson unless they're really good and they really know what they're talking about and doing. You may want to go and call someone at the actual manufacturer and figure out what they're going to do. So here we have from Fall Tech, right, is class 1 and 2, the SRD class. Maximum arresting force is 1,800 pounds. The average arresting force is 1,300 pounds, which goes to show you, right, that with that, right? And the arrest distance is 42 inches. So this is what they're saying. I think that needs to be double checked because I'm getting conflicting information here. Okay, that's what I got on here. So, in review, tomorrow we're waiting for the Alec Baldwin Rust, number one. Number two, if you're a roofing contractor in North Jersey, right, and you get visits from OSHA, take them seriously. Correct what you're doing. Do a cost-benefit analysis versus OSHA citations and everything else, and getting training and right equipment for your employees. And three, stay tuned for more on the ANSI Z359.14. We're going to be doing 2021 edition. We're going to be doing a video on this, and we're probably going to be talking about this again. And if you want fall protection training, give us a call, 845-269-5772. How much more time do we have? I got to check the time because I got a complaint that I'm not checking the time and not sticking the schedule. So we got 4 minutes, and so we got like 2 minutes here. Want to talk about Ukraine? Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Ukraine. Navy Secretary Carlos Del Toro is concerned that within the next 6 months, the U.S. Navy won't be able to arm both itself and Ukraine, urging contractors to boost production and meet the demand. Navy Secretary Carlos Del Toro admitted that there are concerns about America's weapons cache as the government continues to arm Ukraine. The secretary was asked at a Service Navy Association conference on Wednesday, that's today, whether he agreed with an admiral's statement the Navy might get to the point where it has to make a decision whether it needs to arm itself or Ukraine. He was very careful not to comment on the possibility of a choice, but according to one source, if the conflict goes on for another 6 months or for another year, it's going to continue to stress the supply chain in ways that are challenging. Del Toro ultimately blamed military contractors, saying they need to boost production to meet demand. The article came from thedailymail.co.uk. Okay. When this started, and at the beginning of this live program back in September, I said, we've been dealing with an ammunition problem in the United States since 2010, and that was intensified in 2015. With huge amounts of lead smelters went offline, decommissioned, lead ammunition made from lead. There were depleted uranium things because they make that from depleted uranium ammunition, and all different types of shortages. At a certain point, we're going to run out of stuff because I talked to hunters, target shooters, police. Guess what? They have the ammunition they can't afford, they can't get, and everything else. At a certain point, we're going to run out of it. Now we have all this stuff going over to Ukraine. especially the 7.62 millimeter rounds and these 2.47 rounds for the AK-47 and AK-74s going over there. And over there, all the clones and everything else. I don't know. I think we identified it early on here, and with all the other supply chain issues and the offshoring of a lot of our defense industry. So I don't know who's to blame. We know blame fixes nothing here, but this was identified by me, by a lot of other people for years and years and years ago. So somebody should start listening at a certain point. I don't know. And not call everybody a bunch of conspiracy theorists and doomsday preppers and doomsday porn hustlers. So, for Safety Wars, this is Jim Polzel.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hacked? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Polzel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.